Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first edition of the Diabetes Care Summit. I'm Dr. Barbara Akimbua, and I'm your health buddy. This summit is for you if you've been diabetic for a while and you've been struggling with keeping your blood sugar controlled, either because you have problems knowing what to eat, when to eat, how to eat, what else you need to do to keep healthy, or you do know these things, but it's difficult to be motivated. It's also for you if you have an elderly parent who is diabetic that you care for, and you find juggling medications, clinic visits, meals, and then illnesses in between overwhelming. Or you're a beautiful married woman and all you would love to have is a normal pregnancy and delivery. And instead, you keep having miscarriages and stillbirths as a result of complications of diabetes. Or it could be your husband. He is the one who's diabetic. And during sex, you have problems. It's either most of the time he can't get it up, or he has other problems while you're having action. It's also for you if you're a health enthusiast and you believe that prevention is cheaper and better than cure. And so you'd like to learn anything you need to know to stay healthy. During this summit, you listen to loads of interviews by different specialists, including myself. Some of the interviews are short and some are not so short. But I'd encourage you to watch each video till the end because there's loads of important health information and you're getting it all for free. So, once again, welcome to the Diabetes Care Summit, and don't forget, I'm Dr. Barbara Akimbua and I'm your health buddy. See you on the healthy side. Today we're going to be talking about prevention of diabetes. I know that's a very interesting topic and a lot of people want to listen to it. So I'm going to be discussing it in two main headings: prevention in people without diabetes and then prevention in people with diabetes. So I'll explain what that means as I go along. Because I'm sure you're wondering, well, how can, if someone has diabetes already, why am I saying prevention? But I'll talk about that when I get there. So, prevention in people without diabetes. So there's this concept called ideal weight. And everybody has an ideal weight. My ideal weight is different from your ideal weight. Your ideal weight is different from your friend's ideal weight, is different from your brother's ideal weight, is different from your sister's ideal weight. And your ideal weight is the weight at which your body functions optimally. Your blood pressure is excellent. Your blood sugar is excellent. Everything is going on normally. Once your body falls below this ideal weight or above this ideal weight is when you begin to have health challenges. And with diabetes, most of the time, the health challenges come when you go above your ideal weight. This is the reason why weight loss is so important in diabetes management, because for people who are able to lose weight, they are able to reverse diabetes to an extent, especially if they do it in the early stages when there isn't much damage. So, of course, the things that affect your ideal weight or anyone's ideal weight are, aside from your genes, so your ideal weight is set by your genes, and that's where the genetic or part of the genetic aspect comes in. But then there are other things: how much food you eat, how much exercise you get, and then the third thing is stress. So with food, it's obvious. The more food you take, the more the excess is stored as fat. So exercise or physical activity is what makes you burn the calories. So what the energy you derive from food, because When you eat food, it's converted into energy. The part that your body can't use is what is passed out as feces. But when your body absorbs nutrients from it, most of it is converted into energy. And this energy is what is used for different functions in the body, but most of all for movement by your muscles. So if the amount of energy that is produced from your meal is more than your body needs, then it converts it into fat. Fat is a store or a storage form for the body. And that's why there has to be a balance between what you take and how much exercise you have. Now, the link between these two is insulin, because insulin is a hormone that allows your body to use up food and turn it into energy or turn it into fat. Now, if your fat stores are full, then the insulin stops working. And because insulin is what enables your body use up energy, it's linked, the body is very special and very complex. So there are many pathways and many linkages. So when you are stressed, if you remember from my previous lecture, stress makes you want to react because it tells your body that you are in danger. And when you're in danger, there are three common responses. It's either you want to fight, you want to flee, or you want to freeze. There are three F's: fight, flee, or freeze. Freezing is when you just numb yourself and you zone out so that you don't have to cope with what is going on. So you can just pretend to be dead. When you fight, we all know what fighting is. You are aggressive, you want to hurt physically the person or whatever it is that is causing you harm or wants to cause you harm. And when you are fleeing, you run away. So for fleeing and for fighting, you require more energy. But generally, what happens in the body is when it senses stress or anything that is stressing you, it kicks into the stress response mode. So your nervous system, your brain, everything, your functions all go into, we need energy. We need to produce more energy. There is a threat. And so insulin becomes more active in the initial stages. And because insulin becomes more active, your body is changing the food that you eat into energy quickly, storing it as fat quickly, and then your blood sugar levels are dropping faster. So you get hungry faster. So when you are stressed, you eat more. For a lot of people, not everybody, but for most people, they tend to eat more. A few people will lose their appetite and they can't eat, but for most people, they eat more. So being under stress for long periods puts you or puts your body under like a high performance state, and so it overburdens insulin and that pathway or that mechanism of energy production. And because it's happening so fast, more energy is stored as fat because the insulin is working. It's like it's working overtime. So it's just in overdrive. I need to get more, I need to produce more energy, more energy, more energy, more energy, more energy. So the blood sugar levels are gradually increasing, gradually. And that's the link between stress, blood sugar, and weight gain. Okay? So for preventing diabetes in people without diabetes yet, those are the things you need to take note of. you need to understand that you have an ideal body weight. So think back, what, or you can check your weight now and assess, have your blood pressure checked, have your blood sugar checked. If your weight now is whatever it is, your blood sugar and your blood pressure are normal, then chances are that you are close or you are at your ideal body weight. But if your blood pressure or and your blood sugar are high, then it means that you're not likely to be at your ideal body weight, you're over it. A simple way of calculating this is called the body mass index, and that is your weight in kilograms all over your height in meters squared. Your weight in kilograms all over your height in meters squared. So if your BMI is greater than 25, then there's a problem. Okay, the normal range is 20 to 24.9. If your BMI is greater than 25, then you're overweight and there's a problem. So remember, preventing diabetes, if you are not diabetic and you want to be healthy and you want to prevent it from happening, you need to have an idea of what your ideal weight is. And that's important so that when you are going over your ideal weight, then you know that it's time to start cutting down. You don't wait. So if your ideal weight is say 50 kg and you are 52, it's easier to lose 2 kilos than to lose 10 kilos if your weight has gotten up to 60. Hi, have you heard of Soyo, the new diabetes care app? Studies show that the best medicine to take for diabetes is to get education about it. Because if you understand how it affects your body, you'll know better what you need to do to fight it. It will also help you to take care of someone else with diabetes. With the app, you don't just get education, you also get to make your management plan either for yourself or the person you're taking care of. There are also lots of other features like meal plans, medication, and other reminders to keep you on track. And if you fall off, don't worry, just get back on. This is how families can live healthy and happy with diabetes. Don't be left behind. Download the app at soyo.web.app to care for yourself or someone else with diabetes. So that's the importance of knowing your ideal body weight. Another way of knowing is by observing your family members, because genes run in families. So you have people that you are similar to. So if your structure is similar to your mother for a girl, then you know that your ideal weight is similar to what your mother's ideal weight is. So if your mother is, or yeah, if your mother is say 60 kilos and you are 72 and you are about the same height, then you know that there is a problem, yes. Unless maybe you look like your auntie and you are both the same height and roughly the same size. So that's another rough way of estimating. Now, when I say you should know your ideal body weight and you should keep a record of it so that you can go back to it to check and know what your ideal body weight is, so that anytime you go slightly above that, you know that you need to begin cutting down or losing weight. That speaks to the importance of keeping records. And this takes me to preventing diabetes in people with diabetes already. So what that means is, if someone has diabetes already, there are things also that need to be monitored to help keep you healthy. And why you are monitoring those things is they also have a reference point that is healthy for you. And so the more your reference, your values deviate from this, the higher they are, then you know that things are going bad, and you know that you need to take measures to prevent problems. But if you don't have a record, For instance, for someone who was diabetic 5 years ago, if you don't know what your blood sugar levels were like 5 years ago and you see them now, you don't know if they have increased over time or if it is at the same, it's still higher than normal, but it is at the same, level or range, or it is still within the range that your target. So for people with diabetes, depending on their age and how long they've been diabetic, there are special targets that they need to keep, or special ranges that their blood sugar should be between, so that they remain healthy for longer. And if you don't know what those ranges are, then you don't even know what you're doing. You don't know, you're just drinking medicine. You don't know why you're drinking. You know that the medicine is lowering your blood sugar. You don't know what it should lower it to. You don't know when you're doing well. You don't know when you're doing badly. So you need to keep records of your blood sugar. Anytime you take them, you keep them. So that way you see if there is an increase, if it is the same, or if there is a decrease. You see what happens when you change medication, because sometimes when people change their medicine, the blood glucose levels change. It will either go lower or it goes a bit higher because the new drug is not as effective as the old drug. Or if it goes lower, that means the new drug is more effective. So you need to keep records. You need to keep records of your blood pressure. You need to keep records of your blood sugar. You need to keep records of your hemoglobin A1C. Yes, that's another test that needs to be done. So there are different tests that need to be done at different times, and there are quite a lot. Aside from that, going to clinic, if you don't have these records, then it's difficult to give the doctor that is seeing you information of what your health has been like, especially if you are changing doctors or you're changing hospitals, like you travel, or if you even want to go out to another country for a procedure. You need to have those records. You need to have records of the medications that you are taking, the medications that you've been taking, how long you've been on them, when they were changed, why they were changed. If something else was added, when it was added, why was it added? And a lot of the time, people don't know these things. Sometimes they come to hospital, they can't speak or they're unconscious, and even their family members don't know. They know, yes, this person has been diabetic, but they can't remember when. They don't know for how long. They don't know what medicines the person is on. So when that kind of scenario happens, then whoever is treating the patient again is left to guess or assume and start from scratch. And sometimes there are medicines that the person could have been taking and he could have reacted to. But because that information is not there, they could give the person the same drug again. And when you've reacted to something once and you're giving it again, the second time the reaction is worse, because your body, it's like your body has fought this enemy before, and then he knows the enemy, he knows his weak points, and then the enemy comes back to fight him again. So he will give him a heavier blow. This kind, why are you coming? You even have the audacity to come back. I will show you Pepe. So records cannot. It's one thing that will change your life and will change the way your diabetes is managed. If you have diabetes, if you start keeping records, if you understand what you're doing, if you understand why you're doing it, then you know the goal, you know why you're drinking medicines, you know why you're on a diet, or you know why you're eating certain things and not others. You know why you need to exercise 30 minutes a day every day, because you have a goal, and that goal is tied to your purpose, is tied to your life, it's tied to your achievements, because dead people don't achieve anything. And if you are ill, it's more difficult for you to achieve your goals. it's painful to grow into adulthood, and when you're supposed to be having a good time, resting, enjoying your children and your grandchildren, they are struggling to care for you because of an illness that you could have managed better. So, for people with diabetes, even for people without diabetes, record keeping is so important. You need to know your ideal body weight, you need to know your medicines, you need to know your blood pressure. So, if you know that your blood pressure is normally 120/80, for instance, the day it is 140/90, you know there's something wrong. It's not coincidence. If you've been measuring your blood sugar fasting and you've been getting less than 5, less than 5, less than 5, the day you get 6.3, you know that there's something wrong, something has changed. And if you used to weigh 50 kilograms and you're now 70, it's obvious something has happened and something else needs to happen. And this is, I know it's difficult to keep track of all these things, but this is where the Soyo app comes in. It helps you to keep track of all these. It helps you to have your family member on board, and it also helps you to have your doctor or your physician on board. So remember, prevention is better and cheaper than cure. I cannot overemphasize this. I've had the privilege of being a doctor. I have a master's in diabetes, endocrinology and diabetes. My late dad was diabetic, and it was in taking care of him in the last 3 years of his life where it was more hands-on and I had to do a lot more. And then what I didn't realize what I was doing or how I was making an impact in his care earlier on. But it was the experience, all that made me say no. I need to make it easier for people to manage diabetes, because the last 3 years of my dad's life, I'm happy I was able to take care of him, and it helped me understand, because I'm a doctor, I have the doctor's perspective, but I could also see his perspective as a patient, and I could see the family perspective. So, prevention, you need to keep records. There's no two ways about it. You cannot notice any change unless you are keeping records, unless you are keeping track. And you cannot manage diabetes unless you are keeping track. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the healthy side. I'm glad you took my advice and watched the video till the end, and I hope you learned a thing or two. So don't forget, watch the next videos because there's still lots of information that will be really beneficial to you. Don't forget soyo.web.app. Download it now. See you in the next video. Bye.